That's one of the biggest ones I think I've ever seen. That's huge. That is just gargantuan. Oh my gosh. That's a cool bush. It is just mammoth. That is a big one. Still got some green on there. Just want to like throw it like a football. And against that dawn redwood, isn't that nice? Well, it's a little windy, but we've got rain coming and it is going to be a lot. So we've got to get this garden walk in. And these hydrangeas are just changing every single day. That is crazy. But my favorite view of the yard is this corner, and it is just changing so much. Everything behind me is bloomed, and it is just night and day compared to what this used to be. Look at that corner. That is just insane. All of the reds are blooming now. Well, not that one. But these hydrangeas are just spectacular. These are the limelights that are still lime incredibly in August. They're not burned up at all. I don't know if it's the fact that we got a big storm last week or that I put the drip in, but this is pristine. This is exactly what I want in a limelight. Nice green color for a long time, and then you get the giant panicles that are just starting. I mean, that's not even there yet. Look at the hibiscus. Some of these hibiscus, oh, just middle of the day. I know you're not supposed to film them, but it is perfect right now. Look at that bloom. And the stamens. We clipped some of these for a party this weekend, and everybody just wanted to touch that and see what the stamen felt like. But the hibiscus are just awesome. And the hydrangeas are as well. Look at those beautiful mop heads. It's not mop head, but I guess it's panicle. But out of everything, I like that. I just love that pre-bloom look, and just the color is just clean, fresh, and big. And I love big, so I love this guy. Look how big that is. That's bigger than my hand, way bigger. That's one of the biggest ones I think I've ever seen. And that's got that cool red stamen with the yellow. I don't know if that's pollen on there, but that is just something to behold. That is crazy. Can't believe that. That is just huge. And I love that dark purple foliage. That is just what makes it pop. Against like a light color and a fresh color at that, this green. And those little pearls that I just noticed this year in the middle of each flowerette. I just love that. I just love that. And look at that. I can't even get through this side. Ooh, you did get some storm damage here. That's the first limelight I've seen flop. You can't really blame it, but you can't tell either, so it's not too bad. There's actually honeybees on it. I didn't know that hydrangeas had pollen, but we've got a lot of pollinators on here. Ooh, this is a nice green chartreuse corner. I don't know if it's getting morning shade, but all of these are just perfect. Look at that. There are just hydrangeas everywhere. And I was telling somebody that I felt last year they were just kind of average, but the limelights are just one of my favorites. I think I always talk about vanilla strawberry, which is this big giant bloom. That's just, I mean, halfway there, and it's not even, it's way over 6 inches, 8 inches. Give it another 10. Look, can you imagine how heavy and big that's gonna be? But that white against that chartreuse slimy green is just, I don't know. I don't know which one I like better. But that's huge. That is just gargantuan. And this one, and the one behind it, that's cool. Oh my gosh. It's just like snow cones on snow cones. Look at those panicles. You can really tell how they go together. That is, oh man, those are some good ones. We got 3 vanilla strawberries right here. This one's poorly pruned and weighed down, and just, I'm gonna have to butcher that this fall. But I'm gonna enjoy it, even if it's on the ground this year. My treat, sit, 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 sit. We have to take a short break because Ripley is loose and Amazon's here. You're pretty scary. You're pretty scary. I'm not scary, Adam. No, you sit. You sit. You don't need that rabbit. You'll stay if you get pats. That's a good job. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. You want to talk to everybody. Well, took care of that. I tricked her. I didn't have a treat, but anyway, these beds are we've got the red here. Not too many reds yet, but they're looking good. And then you've got vanilla strawberry back there behind that dark foliage. I just love that. We've got a cool jazz. And in the front, John, here's your phantom. I'm not gonna say that compares to the vanilla strawberry, but that's a pretty bloom, and it does have the panicle differences, kind of like a vanilla strawberry. It's just smaller, and it might just be the spot that it's in, but it's getting weighed down too. And I'll show you a pink. Even though the pinks are not my favorite, they've got beauty. It's just not quite as big. And that red over here is not quite as big either, but it is pretty big. Look at that. And they just bloom all day, every day. We've got another bed here that's really overgrown. I've got 3 limelights in there and red bud, 2 hibiscus, lots of grass. I'm just gonna have to spread that one out next year or give them some space. But over here you can see the vanilla strawberries, not quite as big as the other side. They don't get water over here, so it's got to be it. But it's getting very, very busy. That is just awesome. And you can see how they kind of take a turn up to the sun. I don't know how normal that is, but it's pretty cool. Since I'm here, I'll show you the big Pinky Winky. That is just magnificent. Look how much stuff is flying around it too. That's a big bee. But some of these panicles are getting really large. Here at the top, they really stretch up, and look at all those bees take off. It's crazy. But that is a pretty hydrangea, not a tree. It's almost like they grow panicles out of each other, but I guess they've got their own stems. That's a cool bush. It is just mammoth. That's 10 feet. Maybe I'm sitting a little lower here, but over here is a Limelight Prime that got really big. Look at that. That's over 6 foot, and it's growing into this tree. I think there might actually be 2 in there, just in that spot. But back here we've got a vanilla strawberry, and over here we've got a firelight. It's turning, ooh, a monarch, turning pink real quick. But those firelights get really big. They just don't have the clean color that I like from the vanilla strawberry and limelights really. Another Limelight Prime that's really big. Look at that. That is just the perfect time for that bloom for me. You've got flowerets, you've got the little balls that haven't bloomed yet, and then you have the, I don't know if that's the stick or brack or whatever, but that is just my favorite look. I just love that. And you can really tell the difference between how white a vanilla strawberry is versus the limelight there, a firelight here. Firelights are nice, they're just not, yeah, it's just not as clean. It's like there's a little bit of brown spots. The pink doesn't really do it for me, but there are huge blooms over there. Quick fire on standard, and the blue muffin viburnum actually has blue muffin balls, whatever you call these, seeds. Blue muffin, what do you call this? Berries, I guess, but they're not really berries. Big yellow magnolia, untrimmed, quick fire hydrangea, but it's been blooming well over a month and a half. It's bloomed really early this year, but they have, it's just a nice color from a distance. I don't know if, like up close, I don't need to really inspect it because I know a lot of this stuff's not gonna bloom. I don't know why they have the little balls, but I like the look, and I really like it from right here against that grass. And then you've got the nice clean Limelight. That is huge. Holy smokes. That is a big one. That is a big one. Still got some green on there. Oh, they're just such a perfect flower. They are just perfect. Real white. So lime green here to white, and then they'll actually turn a nice shade of pink, not like the firelights. Unlike the firelights to me, they just look really clean all the time until they burn up or they get a frost. Look how big that one is. Golly, just want to like throw it like a football. This, out of everything, you've got all of this white, and then you got this guy. Super clean, fresh, just woke up. But I just can't stop looking at limelights this year. And I'm never like fawning over a Limelight hydrangea. You show me a vanilla strawberry like this one, and I'll stop and touch it and look at it and inspect it and enjoy it. But look behind it. It's got a huge limelight. Absolutely, that's over 10 foot. I don't have 10 feet hydrangeas anywhere. This vanilla strawberry is 6 foot, way up here, or maybe more than that really, but he is towered over by that Limelight. I just can't believe that. Limelights did great this year. This is just insane for me to be coming up to Limelights, and I do this everywhere. But look at that one. That is just awesome. I like that. I really like that. And then we've got some hibiscus up here in the front, another pink I show all the time, but the red's finally blooming. I'll show that one. That's just a perfect hibiscus. Bloomed today. It's got more blooming tomorrow when that one's done, and then when they just fall off when they're done. So, but that is, I never get sick of looking at that. It's such a complex, interesting creature that Japanese beetles love. But you can just kind of pop these off. But I've got too many to really do that with. And I'm trying to shorten this up, but here in the back we've got the storm damage from last week. We got a willow that we lost, which is sad, but we've got a few limelights that I planted. I think I moved them last year, so they're not really big yet, but they do have nice color. Nothing's burning up. Everything looks so fresh. Yeah, that's nice. A few random hydrangeas. I'm not sure what kind they are. I don't think these are limelights. These are probably hospital section hydrangeas that I nursed back. But here's the casualty from the storm. That is a big willow. I didn't realize how big this tree was. But that is huge. Oh, shoot. But it's fun to stand on and look at the yard. This corner of the yard gets underappreciated. We've got the garden over here that is just being bulldozed right now, like by Ripley, and you can see it is terribly over trafficked. She just blasts through here chasing rabbits, and the peppers and eggplants didn't do real well, but we've got a few that are being held down by something. I don't know. That's kind of a cool pepper though. Might eat that today. We are having skirt steak for dinner and a celebration tonight, so that'll be nice with skirt steak. I like sauteed vegetables and just barely cooked vegetables with steak. But here in the back we've got kind of the same like spirit of my gardening, but everything looks so fresh. I just got to show it. These are the dollies that have that little star. Oh, that's a big one. These are the dollies that have that little star, but look how big that is. That is huge. But if you look real close, there's a star, and then you've got regular flowerets. But I think that is just amazing. I think that is cool. And in here we've got some crocosmia from a few years ago, but they don't come back as well the next year. But it's not Must have missed the bloom. That's too bad. I wanted to show you. But that is awesome. Look how clean those are. And these dollies stay white the longest out of any hydrangea I have. They sold them to me like that, and I kind of believed them, but I never believe it until I see it. But they look really nice. And here's the big, I don't even know if these are the biggest limelights anymore. I've got those big ones in the front that I think might even be bigger. That's cool though. Never get sick of that. You can really tell the difference. Demarcation between vanilla strawberry, we've got one back there, super white, and then the lime green, super white here. And this one is called a Zinfandel, I think. It's big, it's just not beautiful. I don't know. I don't like that 3-color pattern on white to green to brown to pink. I guess that's 4 colors. I like just 1 or 2 at a time. That's a big firelight. Not big, it's okay. And this hydrangea got really big blooms last year and it weighed down and broke them. But it's just a lot of blooms that are not huge yet. Tiger lilies. If you like tiger lilies, they got a lot of tiger lilies here. There's a macrophylla hydrangea trying in there, but we've got these everywhere, just kind of tucked in. And the oriental lilies are even blooming still. But look at that, isn't that crazy? I don't even know what part of the flower that's called, but I like kind of messing with them. That one doesn't move. So it's these without pollen that move the best, it looks like. Another macrophylla down there. They need a lot of more shade than where I planted the other ones, but this is a big black beauty elderberry. So it's not the one that kind of looks like a Japanese maple, the fern leaf. What do you call that? The black lace elderberry. This is its cousin, and I think because I have 2-3 different kinds of elderberry, I get berries. So if you have one, you might not get berries. If you have 2 different varieties, you will get berries. And this is a Limelight Prime, very apparent there, very limey. And it's supposed to be small, but I've got some that got really big. And other side of the limelights. Oh, but here is another 2 vanilla strawberries and 1 phantom. I think this is the phantom, and it's not looking like the one out front. Just kind of stunted. You can see it's like it's trying, but it's way behind this guy. Classic vanilla strawberry panicle. You got a tiny or small panicle there, small panicle there, but together they just look like a big cone. That's just hard to beat. Hard to beat. And everything's looking nice and fresh. I need to clean that up. Here's a vanilla strawberry. We cut a bunch off for a party, so see if I can find a good one. Where are you, good one? That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh my gosh, look at that. I could just look at these all day. I do. Way down there, that's another classic Adam prune job. Let's see if I can get in here though. I think oh, there's another macrophylla. Macrophylla is what it's called? I don't know. Pretty green. That's gonna be a good one. That's gonna be a good one. Look at that. Just put 10 inches on that. Can you imagine? One windstorm or one rainstorm and they just are going down. We're gonna get like 3 inches, I think. And then we start getting kind of wild here. We've got figs. There's a bird nest in there. And then wildflower beds. And I'm gonna show you how to clean up a bed like this in about 5 minutes with a new tool I got. But first we'll hit the big dedicated hydrangea beds out front. and see how they're doing. The Pinky Winky Prime has been the topic of discussion, and it's looking a lot better. So you can be the judge. But here is the vanilla strawberry bed. They're still small, and they are going to take a couple years to root in. I can tell already, just because the blooms are not anywhere close to the size of what they'll be, and the bush really hasn't grown much this year, which is kind of, I don't know, kind of surprising. I got water to them all really late, so that's partially my fault. The tree is doing really well. I'm just not going to really notice bloom or growth on it, I don't think. I think beeches are just kind of slow growing. But if you look in the sun, you can see that copper. That's a copper beech. Well, I don't know if it's the true copper beech, but that's coppery enough for me. I just think that is amazing. And look at that trunk. Maybe on this side's my favorite. Look how wrinkly that trunk's getting. And you can kind of see wrinkles on the trunk. Real big wrinkles, but I just think that is the favorite little attribute or thing about these copper beeches. They have a smooth trunk, like an elephant trunk or elephant's leg with the wrinkles, and it just looks awesome. And here is the quickfire bed that we put in last year and really transformed this area of the yard. It was really buckthorny, and I think give those a few years, they're not gonna really be something I walk up to and inspect like a vanilla strawberry, like I said, but they add color and structure, and we'll shape them like a globe, so they'll really kind of pop. This will be kind of a spherical garden bed. And then we've got some of the craziness here. These are just more hospital section hydrangeas. I think this is called Sweet Summer. Real pretty. And against that dawn redwood, isn't that nice? That is cool. We've got red buds that broke up from the storm, but this was another spot that was really bad, and it just looks so much different. I just think that looks so much better. And what I'm going to weed that bed with, I can do that in this bed and really clean it up fast. The crocosmia really hasn't changed, so I'm not going to go there. But the Pinky Winky Prime has. Not a lot, but they look good. And they look way different. So this is all white right now. And I guess there's one that's got pink on it. But if you judge a kind of a Pinky Winky structure, that is a perfect Pinky Winky. It's just small. And we're gonna give it several years to really make a judgment. But that's a really clean version of Pinky Winky. You just can't really beat that. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, I guess I've heard, but this is that might be a superior bloom. It's just not a superior plant yet, because what you want is something really big and spectacular, and you get that in the old Pinky Winkies. They just look crazy though. This is the same size plant, same size pot, planted a week apart, and these are just covered in blooms. Look at that, just absolutely covered. But they're changing color already. They're bigger blooms. That's a big one, and they're just covered. They're everywhere. Look how big some of these are. That's huge. That's I don't know how long. That might be 12 inches. But if you go on this side, let's see if I can squeeze through the hoopla. But that is really a perfect bloom if you ask me. You've got nice color changes. It's not splotchy from white to brown to pink. It's going to pink pretty quick, but it's really clean. And I like it from the bottom up, and it's just doing everything right. It's just a big, insane looking hydrangea. Look at that, look at that. What's that, hoopla? And we've got a lot of little white ones on this one, so it's a little behind, but not too bad. That's a big one too. These are all like specimen plants, and you don't really think of a limelight as being a specimen plant. Most people haven't seen a big hibiscus and they see something like this and they're just like, wow. And then you hear limelight and you're like, oh, I've heard of that for the last 2 decades, 3 decades. But they are just awesome en masse. Look at that. I wasn't gonna look at limelights again, but I am doing it. We've got the reds blooming good on this side. All in that verbena. I know it's a hydrangea tour, but look at that. Look at that verbena bonariensis. So much better with the mulch too. So much better with the mulch and a nice clean Limelight hydrangeas. I'm never gonna get over that. Look at that. It's just hedge after hedge. Big white one here. That's a really big one too. Bigger than my hand. And Ripley just waiting. There's a big red. Gosh, some of these reds are just gigantic. Look at that. They're a lot more delicate feeling than the whites. The whites almost have like a leathery feel to them. And there was a monster in here last year. It had really big flowers. I'm not sure where, but there's another giant red. That might be one of the bigger ones. Look at that. Just huge. And I never check out this bed, but we'll save that for the video I have coming up. We'll check all of the annuals and see how they're doing, really performing a month and a half after I planted them. But first, I want to show you how I'm going to clean up a garden bed in 5 minutes with a new tool I got. So this is it. My wife got me this, or my son got me this for Father's Day, and I've had it kind of put away to stay safe. And I really like, it's made by DeWit, and it says it's made in Holland, so it's not local definitely, but and it is just a game changer. It's like a stirrup weeder, but it's got that blade on the front, and you can just kind of push your way under the weeds. And oh, this is a real hard bed. And you can kind of just push your way under the weeds, disconnecting that root structure, and when it's this hot, they're gonna die. So it does it really quick and cleans everything up really fast. I'm normally on my hands and knees pulling these weeds, and I can be out there all day. So this is how it looks before I weed it, and we'll give it 5 minutes and see how much I can get done. But there's a lot of grass in here, and even primrose, but big grasshopper. That's cool. Still no monarch caterpillars. It's just frustrating. Now just look how you can just pull that out, missed one, and clean everything out with just a rake. And if you missed one, hit it again. So I promised 5 minutes, and that couldn't have been more than 5 minutes, but just a little bit of effort and I've got all those edges really cleaned up. If it got too close to a plant, I didn't really want to do it on camera and just be rushing it, but on this one I'd probably pull that one up by hand. But they have runners and they'll just pop more of whatever kind of weed that is up. But I just saw a hummingbird moth. I wonder if he's coming back. I'll be on a watch out for him, but that is this week's hydrangea tour. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.